Hi Naledi, thanks once again for coming to us live from the World Science Forum that's currently taking place here at the Cape Town International Conference Center. They say together as humanity we can change the world. Well, different countries are coming together here to try and find evidence-based solutions to social justice, to food insecurity, and multiple challenges facing South Africa, facing the continent, and facing the world. We're joined now by Professor Julian May. Professor May is with the Center for Excellence and Food Security. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to us.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's an important conversation, food, and depending on which LSM you are in community, you have a different relationship with how much food you can get access to, how you can keep it. Just tell us about the work of your organization and how it speaks to the solutions that this gathering seeks to find.
Well, you put your finger exactly on the issue with food security. It's about our culture, it's about what we like to eat, what we don't like to eat. But it's also about the access that we have to food, whether we have the money, what is available in the shops that we can go to. And then we have aspects like the safety of the food. So you will remember some years ago when we had the listeriosis outbreak, that was very much part of the things that we've been investigating, which is our food also safe to eat? And the last aspect, which is important, is it nourishing? Is it actually building bodies, and particularly the bodies of young children? So we work on all of those aspects.
So just in terms of the conversations you are bringing to this event to try and find an inclusive way that science can deal with how humanity handles food.
Well, I think one of the things that's unique about our Centre of Excellence, the NRF have funded, I think, 16 of these Centres of Excellence. Only 2 are multidisciplinary. So only 2 bring together the sciences, the natural sciences, the social sciences, and in our case, we even bring in the humanities. So we've also done things like explore people's relationship with food through poetry. We've looked at indigenous crops and what kinds of foods people like to eat and why perhaps they no longer eat it. So an example is sampan beans. At one time it was one of the favoured foods of a significant share of our population. But because of the cost of energy, because of problems like load shedding, people are moving away from eating sampan beans, even though it's actually a very nourishing food, and it's a food that people are preferring. And instead they're shifting towards very prepared food, high fat, high salt, high sugar, and that results in other kinds of problems in our food system.
But that is as a result of scientific discoveries, where we now have so many options in terms of food, and sometimes it can get confusing. How does one decide?
Well, that is one of the issues that is of concern. We expect consumers to read the label that provides all this information. And South Africa does have legislation.
And who has the time?
Who has the time? Who understands all those aspects? So one of the research projects that we've done is to rather try and pilot a simple traffic light approach that would indicate green if the food is nourishing and safe, to red if that's a food that you need to be cautious about. There's nothing wrong with drinking sugar.
One would imagine you're getting a pushback from the commercial world just in terms of what if you're going to put a red on their product?
That's one of the reasons why I think we might not have adapted such an approach. But I think it's an unnecessary reaction. As I was saying, there's nothing wrong with drinking sugary beverages, but then you need to have the lifestyle that allows you to work off those extra calories. You need to manage the quantity that you're drinking, and you also need to bring in other kinds of foodstuffs, like unsweetened fruit juices. So it's about balance, it's about moderation.
So a bigger conversation as well.
Exactly.
How should viewers be interacting with the work that you do? And you say you've got stations, 16 stations. Where are they based?
So we've taken right from the beginning of the Centre of Excellence, we feel that science communication is critical. We can't have conversations amongst ourselves as the scientists, as the researchers. Our conversation must be with communities. So we have a strong social media presence. We've also adopted what we call a food imbizo. So once a month, and one took place yesterday, we have an online presence where the conversation is conducted in plain language. We involve a very diverse audience. We've conducted food imbizos with people who are waste pickers, who collect what others won't eat and turn that into a livelihood. So we try and have these Ibizas in a way that anyone can interact and can learn. Our centre itself is based at the University of Western Cape and also at the University of Pretoria, but we work with all South African universities and also with the research councils.
Professor Julian May, thank you so much for talking to us. Professor May is from the Centre of Excellence and Food Security in this ongoing conversation at the World Science Forum that's currently taking place at the Cape Town International Conference Centre. And as you can see, we're at the exhibition centre, multiple conversations with multiple stakeholders at the centre. We're just going to be joined now by Dr. Yolisa Phakela. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about what you do.
We are the Agricultural Research Council. We do research in agriculture across the spectrum. And the fun part of it is that our research is always informed by what the farmers or the people in the public arena want.
So on the ground?
On the ground. And this is very fun for scientists.
Just tell us about some of the conversations that take place there as the world tries to talk about looking after the environment while ensuring food safety.
So the important thing for us is how we demystify science, because science happens every day, everywhere. And, to encourage also young ones to take up science as a subject so that we can have more of the scientists doing whatever is required in issues of combating climate change or making sure that there's safe, nutritious food available for everyone. So that is the main work.
There's another bigger conversation about mass food production that is eroding the environment, just in terms of finding solutions to this while providing food for different communities and different populations around the world. How are you engaging with this conversation?
So we have a huge breeding program in the ARC where we breed different cultivars for different clientele. Some want different size of a fruit that they can export, but mostly the concern is about formulating food varieties that are accessible, that are more nutritious, and that can be produced at any agricultural environment, not necessarily at a mass scale. So we do have programs that involve smallholders or just households, even urban areas. We find ways to make sure that they participate in producing their own food.
It's interesting that you say that, because businesses, when they start and their biggest mission is profitability, speak about scalability. And you're saying that's not necessarily important in your project. How do you balance monetizing your projects with that?
So we do produce our research output. We have a specific mandate to serve the people of the Republic first. So most of our output goes into public good. So the only challenge we might have is a whole lot of people knowing about the ARC, that they can access this output.
That's a huge mindset change, to say do good for humanity.
Yes. That is what we are designed for. We are a public institution. We endeavor to make sure that our output reaches everyone at every corner in the Republic.
Tell us about your product.
So we have these different products that we're so proud of. These gems, because like I said, our products are accessible by different markets. So the gems are developed with the villagers, mostly in the Eastern Cape. We've had this big project on food production. So the scientist works with the farmers and they do their own recipes, their own production, and then we come back to the lab to make sure that it is marketable, so to speak, and then package it, and they sell it. They produce it at their scale and sell it to the local businesses.
So that evidence-based prerogative comes in as well. Dr. Yolisa Phakela from the ARC, we can see in the background examples of the cultivars bred by the ARC. Just speak us through that.
Okay, so as I said,
board.
We have this big breeding program. The entire citrus industry relies on the ARC to produce the different cultivars. This is our star performer currently, and has been for the past 5 years.
You mean the oranges?
The Nadarkot, yes.
Okay.
And then also the seedless lemon, which is sold worldwide.
Seedless lemon?
Seedless lemon. Nobody wants a seed, when they're squeezing the lemon.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I know I don't.
Yes. And then we have these sweet potatoes, which are enriched with vitamin A. This goes mostly into the school feeding program and has been adopted by the Department of Education. Very fun project to work in. And of course, we have grapes for making raisins, and we have also grapes for wine. And proteas, we need to keep our national,
Flower alive.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
What type of support do you get from government?
Government gives us a lot of support. Mostly about 80% of our income we are provided for by government, and we deliver services for them. And then there is about 20% that comes from industry, where they commission us for specific research on exactly the kind of things that they want for their businesses. And, we try to balance all the time.
And just a quick one, just in terms of this event and its importance for South African scientists.
It is very important for South African scientists for networking with other countries to make sure that services reach all the other countries, as well as also where there's been successes, what we can learn from other countries. So it's very important.
Of course, there's multiple aspects to this event. The aspect of social justice. There's the aspect of eradicating poverty, and this very important aspect of food security. And that was Dr. Yolisa Phakela from the ARC. And this is how we wrap this particular crossing. It's back to Joburg.